Welcome to Storytelling Techniques for English Learners. Imagine being thrown into a world where your words could make or break an entire kingdom. Liam, a humble villager with no knowledge of English, was tasked with translating for the King of Ireland during crucial negotiations with British rulers. His journey is one of struggle, resilience, and triumph, a tale that will inspire you to believe in the power of persistence. Ready to dive into an epic story that will not only captivate you but also teach you how to improve your English skills? Let's begin. Chapter 1. The Unexpected Call. The sun rose over the quiet Irish village, painting the hills in golden light. Liam, a young villager, was already tending to his sheep. He loved the simplicity of his life, far from the chaos of the kingdom. But fate had other plans for him. That morning, the village buzzed with excitement. The King of Ireland was visiting. The king owned vast treasures hidden in the nearby hills. Villagers gathered to catch a glimpse of their ruler. Liam watched from a distance, curious but uninterested in royal affairs. As the king's carriage arrived, the crowd cheered. The king stepped out, his presence commanding respect. Beside him stood his translator, a man dressed in fine robes. The translator was crucial for the king's negotiations with British rulers. Suddenly, chaos erupted. The translator clutched his chest and collapsed. The villagers gasped as the king's guards rushed to help. The translator was too ill to continue. The king's face darkened. Without a translator, his meeting with the British would fail. The king turned to the villagers. "Does anyone here speak English?" he asked. Silence followed. No one dared to step forward. Liam's heart raced. He knew no English, but the desperation in the king's eyes moved him. Against his better judgment, Liam stepped forward. I will try," he stammered. The king studied him, skeptical but desperate. "Very well," the king said. "Prepare yourself. We leave at dawn." Liam's mind spun. He had no idea how to speak English. Panic set in as he realized the enormity of his task. The fate of the kingdom rested on his shoulders. That night, Liam couldn't sleep. He sat by the fire, clutching a dusty old English book. He tried to memorize basic phrases, but the words felt foreign. "Hello," he whispered. "My name is Liam." It was a start, but far from enough. The next morning, Liam joined the king's caravan. The journey to the castle was long and silent. Liam practiced his phrases under his breath. He knew he wasn't ready, but he had no choice. At the castle, British delegates awaited. They greeted the king with polite smiles. Liam's hands trembled as he stepped forward. The king introduced him as the new translator. The first conversation began. Liam struggled to understand the British delegates. Their accents were thick, their words fast. He mispronounced words and confused meanings. The delegates frowned, and the king grew impatient. Liam's face burned with embarrassment. He felt like a failure. But deep down, a spark of determination ignited. He vowed to improve, no matter how hard it would be. That night, Liam sat alone in his room. He thought about his village, his family, and the king's trust. He couldn't let them down. He decided to dedicate every moment to learning English. He started with simple phrases, repeating them until they felt natural. He listened to British traders in the market, mimicking their accents. He even practiced in front of a mirror, correcting his mistakes. Liam's journey had just begun. He knew the road ahead would be tough. But he also knew that every small step would bring him closer to success. This chapter highlights simple tips to improve English speaking at home. Liam's story shows that starting small, memorizing basic phrases and practicing daily, can build a strong foundation. What would you do if you were in Liam's shoes? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this chapter, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Stay tuned for the next chapter, where Liam faces his biggest challenge yet. Chapter 2: The First Mistake. The grand hall of the castle was filled with tension. British delegates sat across the table, their expressions sharp and calculating. Liam stood beside the king, his heart pounding like a drum. He clutched his notes, scribbled with basic English phrases. He wasn't ready, but the moment had arrived. The king began speaking in Irish, his voice steady and commanding. Liam took a deep breath and started translating. "The king welcomes you to Ireland," he said slowly. The delegates nodded, but their eyes narrowed slightly. Liam's accent was heavy, his words unclear. As the discussion continued, Liam struggled to keep up. The delegates spoke quickly, their sentences complex. Liam misheard a crucial word and translated it incorrectly. The king's response, based on Liam's translation, confused the delegates. One delegate raised an eyebrow. "That doesn't make sense," he said bluntly. The king turned to Liam, his face darkening. "What did you say?" he demanded. Liam froze, realizing his mistake. He tried to correct himself, but the damage was done. The delegates exchanged skeptical glances. The king's frustration was palpable. Liam felt a wave of humiliation wash over him. The meeting ended abruptly. The king stormed out of the hall, leaving Liam standing alone. The weight of his failure crushed him. He had let down the king and jeopardized the kingdom's future. That night, Liam couldn't eat or sleep. He replayed the meeting in his mind, analyzing every mistake. He knew he needed to improve, but how? He had no tutor, no resources, and no time. The next morning, Liam wandered the castle grounds, lost in thought. He stumbled upon an old library tucked away in a quiet corner. Dusty books lined the shelves, their pages yellowed with age. Liam's eyes lit up. He grabbed an English grammar book and began reading. The text was difficult, but he persevered. He copied sentences into a notebook, practicing pronunciation and grammar. He also discovered a collection of letters between Irish and British leaders. These letters became his guide. He studied the formal language, noting common phrases and expressions. Liam's determination grew stronger. He spent hours in the library, often forgetting to eat. He practiced speaking aloud, even when his voice grew hoarse. He knew he couldn't afford another mistake. One day, a kind old scholar noticed Liam's efforts. "You're working hard," the scholar said. Liam nodded, too tired to speak. The scholar offered to help, teaching Liam the basics of English grammar and pronunciation. With the scholar's guidance, Liam's skills improved. He learned to focus on high-frequency words and phrases. He practiced listening by eavesdropping on British traders in the market. Despite his progress, Liam still doubted himself. The memory of his first failure haunted him. But he refused to give up. Every small victory fueled his determination. Weeks passed, and Liam's confidence grew. He began translating simple conversations for the king again. Each success brought a glimmer of hope. Liam knew he was far from perfect, but he was improving. The king noticed Liam's efforts. "You've come a long way," he said one evening. Liam smiled, grateful for the recognition. But he knew the real test was yet to come. This chapter emphasizes how to improve English speaking fast for beginners. Liam's journey shows the importance of focusing on high-frequency words and phrases to build confidence quickly. Stay tuned for Chapter 3, where Liam discovers the power of secret practice. Chapter 3: The Secret Practice. After his humiliating mistake, Liam knew he had to change his approach. He couldn't rely on luck or half-hearted efforts. The stakes were too high. Determined to succeed, he devised a plan. He would practice in secret, away from prying eyes and judgment. Liam's first step was to create a routine. Every morning, he woke before dawn. While the castle slept, he practiced English in the quiet library. He started with simple sentences, repeating them until they felt natural. He discovered an old mirror in a storage room. It became his best friend. Liam stood in front of it, practicing pronunciation. He watched his mouth move, correcting his mistakes. "Hello, my name is Liam," he said over and over. Next, Liam turned to the villagers for help. He approached British traders in the market, asking them to speak slowly. He listened carefully, mimicking their accents and phrases. At first, they laughed at his attempts. But Liam didn't care. He was focused on progress. One day, Liam found a stack of old letters in the library. They were written in English by Irish leaders. These letters became his treasure. He studied them daily, noting formal phrases and diplomatic language. Liam also discovered free resources. He stumbled upon a language app on an old tablet. It offered lessons on grammar, vocabulary, and pronunciation. Liam spent hours on it, completing exercises and quizzes. The app became his secret weapon. It taught him common phrases used in negotiations. Liam practiced these phrases daily, recording himself to track his progress. He listened to the recordings, cringing at his mistakes but learning from them. Despite his efforts, Liam faced setbacks. Some days, he felt like giving up. The language seemed too complex, the task too daunting. But he reminded himself of the king's trust and the kingdom's future. Liam's breakthrough came one rainy afternoon. He was practicing in the library when the scholar walked in. The old man watched silently as Liam struggled with a difficult sentence. "You're doing well," the scholar said finally. Liam looked up, surprised. The scholar offered to help, teaching Liam advanced grammar and pronunciation. Liam's confidence soared with each lesson. The scholar also introduced Liam to role-playing. They practiced mock negotiations, with the scholar playing the British delegate. Liam learned to think on his feet, responding quickly and accurately. Liam's hard work began to pay off. He noticed improvements in his speaking and listening skills. The king started assigning him small translation tasks. Liam handled them with growing confidence. But Liam knew the real test was coming. A major negotiation with British rulers was scheduled. The fate of the kingdom depended on it. Liam doubled his efforts, practicing late into the night. One evening, the king summoned Liam. "I've heard about your progress," the king said. "I'm counting on you." Liam nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility. He was ready to prove himself. This chapter highlights the best apps to improve English speaking for free. Liam's use of technology and free resources shows how accessible tools can accelerate learning. Stay tuned for Chapter 4, where Liam faces his biggest challenge yet. Chapter 4: The Turning Point. Weeks of secret practice had transformed Liam. His English was far from perfect, but it was functional. He could hold basic conversations and understand most of what was said. Yet, the looming negotiation with the British rulers filled him with dread. The day before the meeting, Liam felt the weight of his responsibility. He knew this was his chance to redeem himself. But doubt crept in. What if he failed again? What if his mistakes cost the kingdom dearly? Determined to succeed, Liam spent the entire day preparing. He reviewed his notes, practiced key phrases, and rehearsed potential scenarios. The scholar helped him refine his pronunciation and grammar. That evening, Liam decided to try something new. He recorded himself speaking English, then listened to the playback. Hearing his own voice was uncomfortable, but it revealed mistakes he hadn't noticed. He focused on fluency, practicing until his sentences flowed naturally. He also worked on his listening skills, replaying recordings of British speakers. Liam mimicked their accents, trying to sound more confident. The night before the negotiation, Liam couldn't sleep. He lay in bed, repeating phrases in his mind. "The king proposes an alliance," he whispered. "We seek mutual benefit." These sentences felt like lifelines. The next morning, Liam dressed carefully, choosing clothes that made him look professional. He met the king in the Grand Hall, where the British delegates were already seated. The atmosphere was tense. The king began speaking, and Liam translated his words into English. His voice was steady, his pronunciation clearer than before. The delegates listened intently, nodding occasionally. As the discussion progressed, Liam felt a surge of confidence. He understood most of what the delegates said and responded accurately. His hard work was paying off. But then, a delegate asked a complex question. Liam hesitated, struggling to find the right words. The room fell silent as everyone waited for his response. Liam took a deep breath and asked the delegate to repeat the question. This time, he listened carefully, breaking the sentence into smaller parts. He translated it accurately, earning a nod from the king. The negotiation continued, and Liam's confidence grew. He even added a diplomatic touch to his translations, smoothing over potential conflicts. The delegates seemed impressed, and the king's expression softened. By the end of the meeting, an agreement had been reached. The British delegates shook hands with the king, and Liam felt a wave of relief. He had done it. The king turned to Liam, a rare smile on his face. "You've come a long way," he said. Liam bowed, feeling a mix of pride and gratitude. That night, Liam celebrated with the scholar. They reviewed the meeting, analyzing what had gone well. Liam realized that his preparation had made all the difference. But he also knew this was just the beginning. There would be more negotiations, more challenges. Liam vowed to keep improving, no matter how difficult the journey. This chapter emphasizes effective exercises to improve English speaking fluency. Liam's use of self-recording, role-playing, and focused practice demonstrates practical methods to refine speaking skills. Stay tuned for Chapter 5, where Liam achieves his greatest triumph. Chapter 5, The Triumph. The day of the final negotiation arrived, and the castle buzzed with anticipation. Liam stood in the Grand Hall, his heart racing but his mind focused. Months of relentless practice had led to this moment. He was ready. The British delegates entered, their expressions serious. The king greeted them warmly, and Liam began translating. His voice was clear, his words precise. The delegates listened intently, nodding in approval. The discussion started smoothly. Liam translated each sentence accurately, adding a diplomatic touch when needed. The king's proposals were well received, and the atmosphere remained cordial. But then, a delegate raised a contentious issue. Tensions flared as both sides debated fiercely. Liam remained calm, carefully translating each argument. His ability to mediate impressed everyone in the room. At one point, the king made a bold proposal. The delegates hesitated, unsure how to respond. Liam saw an opportunity and suggested a compromise. His suggestion bridged the gap between both sides. The delegates discussed Liam's idea and agreed to it. The king smiled, clearly pleased. Liam's quick thinking had saved the negotiation. The final agreement was signed, and the room erupted in applause. The king turned to Liam, his eyes filled with gratitude. "You've done well," he said. "The kingdom owes you a great debt." Liam bowed humbly, feeling a surge of pride. That evening, the castle celebrated. Villagers and nobles alike praised Liam's efforts. He was no longer just a humble villager, he was a hero. Liam reflected on his journey. From struggling with basic phrases to mediating high-stakes negotiations, he had come so far. His determination and hard work had paid off. The scholar approached Liam during the celebration. "You've made me proud," he said. Liam thanked him, acknowledging the scholar's crucial role in his success. As the festivities continued, Liam realized something important. His journey wasn't just about learning English. It was about believing in himself and never giving up, no matter the odds. The king announced that Liam would remain his official translator. Liam accepted the role, knowing it was both an honor and a responsibility. He vowed to keep improving, to keep learning. Liam's story spread throughout the kingdom. Villagers inspired by his journey began learning English themselves. They saw Liam as proof that anyone could achieve greatness with dedication. Years later, Liam became a mentor. He taught others the techniques that had helped him succeed. His legacy lived on, inspiring generations to embrace challenges and strive for excellence. This chapter highlights how to improve English speaking without a tutor. Liam's story shows that self-discipline, daily practice, and leveraging free resources can lead to success. Did Liam's triumph inspire you? What challenges are you working to overcome? Share your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button. Let us know what other content you'd like to see. Have you ever felt like someone, or something, was watching your every move? Because lately, I swear my cat is trying to kill me. Join us in our next video as we dive into this hilarious and suspenseful tale. Improve your English with acting and storytelling, perfect for graded reader level 2 learners. From mysterious feline antics to unexpected twists, this story will keep you on the edge of your seat. Let's go to the story and uncover the truth. Is the cat really plotting, or is it all in the imagination? Watch now.